Joining us now from our Tel Aviv studio to discuss the nuclear talks in Oman is Dr. Emily Landau, the director of the Arms Control Program at the Institute for Strategic Studies in Tel Aviv. Good evening, Dr. Landau.
Good evening.
Do you believe that Iran and the P5+1 will succeed in reaching an agreement by November 24th, or is the deadline going to be extended?
Well, it's hard to know. Both options right now seem probably equally likely, maybe with a slight advantage to the extension option. We're at a critical final stage, of course. There's exactly 2 weeks left till the 24th of November deadline. We have this summit meeting in Oman. Then they will move to Vienna and then move to the final stretch from the 18th to the 24th. So there's a big question of how many, what kind of concessions will be made and by whom in this final stretch, and that will determine whether they're able to get to some kind of deal. And then there will be a big question with regard to the nature of this deal, whether it is a good deal. There's very little chance that it'll be a good deal, but how bad it will be. And the other option, of course, is that they will come to the decision to extend talks, and there's a third sort of option where they might announce that they've come to an agreement on a certain amount of issues, maybe 2 issues, maybe 3 issues, where they'll announce. Remember, there was the report last week that they've come to agreement to remove stockpiles to Russia, perhaps, where they would fabricate the fuel. So they might announce that they have a certain amount of agreement, but they need a few more months or weeks to finalize the more difficult issues on the table.
Now, if some kind of accord is signed, how certain do you think it is that Tehran will abandon all pursuit of nuclear weapons and will not continue to clandestinely develop weapons of mass destruction?
Well, unfortunately, what is on the table right now is not that, ironically, it's not that Iran will abandon its pursuit of a military nuclear capability. In fact, we just heard Foreign Minister Zarif say that the sanctions are illegal. The basis for him saying that sanctions are illegal is the fact that Iran rejects the notion that it ever worked on a military nuclear program, and of course they claim they're not working on it now, and they have no intentions in that regard. Therefore, it's a very strange negotiation where one side wants the other to abandon its military aspirations, but the other side denies having those aspirations. And therefore, what's actually on the table right now is a deal that is supposed to distance Iran from the point of breakout to maybe 12 months, hopefully 24 months, somewhere in between, where actually the implicit assumption is that Iran is very likely to cheat on that deal. And therefore, all of the talk about the verification regime that is necessary, the inspections, a more enhanced role for the IAEA, etc. And therefore, unfortunately, they're no longer negotiating about Iran backing away from its military aspirations, but rather trying to physically hold Iran far enough away so that they will be able to detect any violation and hopefully deal with it in time. I would say I'm very skeptical about their ability to deal with any violation in time, because there's a whole host of problems that will come on the agenda when there's the first suspicion of a violation on the part of Iran.
Director of the Arms Control Program at the Institute for Strategic Studies, Dr. Emily Landau, thank you very much for sharing your insight with us this evening.
You're welcome.